Hello and welcome. We're making another QLab and Applescript video. In this video, we'll be taking our create fade in script from the previous video and editing it into a create fade out script. This is going to be pretty easy, but let's jump right into the code and see how that's going to work. So this is going to start the same as all of our scripts with our tell QLab 4 line. And the same as last time, we're going to run these first few things. That's going to grab the original Q and check its type. Because the same as before, we want to check and make sure that if that the Q is one of these types, because if it's not, then we don't want to execute any of this code. But if it is one of these types, then the first thing we'll do is we'll make a Q name for it. So let's go ahead and change this to fade out, and we'll grab the Q name of the string of the Q that we're fading out. We'll have a duration time. We'll still use that. We're not going to need a pre-wait. The fade in is designed to run at the same time as the queue it's targeting is called, so we're not going to need a pre-wait to link this one because this will be called individually. We're not going to need a continue mode because it's not going to be linked again with the original queue that it's targeting. So next thing we'll do is we'll still make a fade. We'll still set a variable that's tied to that fade so we can adjust its properties. When we come down here, since we're no longer using pre-wait, we can get rid of the pre-wait from the properties here. And then down here in these last two blocks, we can delete almost all of them because all we want to do is set the levels to 0. So we're going to grab this line and move it up here. And we take it back, and then we're going to come down to the video block and grab this line and move it up as well. I lied. We're gonna keep the video line where it was because we still need the video line in an if block. But we're gonna get rid of everything else in this block. And we're gonna get rid of all of this block. And for these two lines, we just need to change them so that instead of setting them to the value that we stored from the queue they were targeting, we want to change them to 0. Or well, 0 for this one, and then up here for the audio, we'll change this to minus infinity. Minus infinity. I didn't mention this before, but that needs to be a string. You need to put that in quotations. If you just write minus infinity without the quotations, I'm not sure if that'll work. So here right now, we've trimmed the fat. This is most of what we needed to do. Let's go ahead and take this over to QLab and see what of this works and what doesn't. So we'll take this into QLab. We'll just make a new script queue. We'll give it the hotkey trigger of Control A for testing. We'll paste in that script we just edited. Compiles without error. So let's go ahead and run this on slide 1. Run this on slide 1, and this works great. This looks like it works. We get a slide at 0, no errors or anything. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and run this on the audio queue. Run this on the audio queue, and again, we got minus infinity. Looks like it's working great. But here we have our first problem. Because if we run this, we play this, we see it fades in right. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Oh, there you see it. We ran the fade out, and let's just do this right, just to make it right. We'll run this with its fade in, so now it's up and playing. There's no audio because I don't have the rates. But then when we run our fade out, we'll see that after it completes, our original target is still running. So that's one thing we're going to want to fix. And then also, let's look at what happens because oftentimes we run our fade in script on the target queue, and then we end up running our fade out script on the fade. So let's see what happens when we do this. Now when we do this, we get a broken queue. And there's a problem with this in that there's no target. Original queue for what we ran that on was fade. This is not a targetable thing for fades. We need the queue that this is targeting. So we're going to need to do something to test if our new fade is fading a fade, and if it is, we'll need to grab the queue name of the queue target instead of the queue name of the queue target. Okay, that's going to make sense when we look at the code. I'm sorry, that was my fault. I should have planned that better. So we've got a couple of things to fix. Let's go back into the code and clean these up. All right. So the easiest one to fix was that it continued playing after the fade stopped. That is the stop continue when, sorry, stop playing when done, and we set that to true. So we do that, and that will now stop automatically once the fade is completed. So that was our first problem. Our another problem was with this original queue. If original queue is a fade, then that will not target correctly when we make a new fade. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change this to a variable called QTarget. In fact, let's make this my QTarget for clarity. My QTarget, which we'll define up here. And then the other thing we need to do is to redefine the queue name. But we don't actually need to change the variable, we need to change how we get the name. So let's go back up here to the top, and what we need to add up here is we need to add an if block that tests what the queue type is of original queue. So we just want to see what this is, and if it's fade, we'll do some special things. So if queue type of, no, I don't need that. If original queue type is fade, then and we'll do an end if because we always need an end if when we open an if. We'll add a new line. So if the queue type is fade, we will set the queue name string to queue name of queue target of original queue. So remember, in this case, original queue would be a fade. This is like if we were fading out the fade in that little demo I just did. And then we'll also need to set the my queue target to the queue target of original queue. And then yes, so that's all we need to do for that. And then we'll add an else block for everything else, anything that's not a fade. And for that, the first thing we'll do is we'll just come down and we'll grab this line and pull it up, indent it. And then we'll still need to set a queue target in here for everything that's not, sorry, I need to grab the set queue target, no, set queue target, oh, not that, I'm sorry, we want to set my queue target, excuse me, because we haven't made the new queue yet, we can't assign its properties. Set my queue target to queue target, no, to original queue, I'm sorry. This is how it worked before. Remember, before we had original queue down here in the where we set the properties, but since we have different options, we need to define a variable up here that we can feed in. So now what this will do is it'll check if it's a fade. If it is a fade, it'll grab the name of the queue that the original fade is targeting, as well as that queue, and it will make those the relevant properties with our new fade out queue. Oh, we need to add the fade out. I just realized I was looking down at the next section, fade out. And I've never actually said this out loud on the camera, but to concatenate strings in QLab, you use, or in Applescript, you use the ampersand there. So we'll set the queue name string to fade out and the queue name of the queue target of the fade in that we're fading out. That's awkward, but again, it makes sense. This I believe is it. This I believe is it. Let's copy this all up and take it back over. In QLab, we're just going to overwrite the script queue that we were testing with earlier. Can't be an set. Oh, that's what I was saying. We can't set properties yet. Oh, that needs to be back over here. Actually, I know I mentioned in another video, I said I don't like to use the editor, but when things go wrong, what I like to do is you come down here and you check the events log. Let's get everything out of our script queue. Let's copy the, nope, sorry. Get everything out of our script queue. Let's copy that. We'll bring it over to the script editor. I'm sorry it's so bright. It's so bright. All right, let's select the fade in Jackson 5. We'll delete that for clarity. And just a reminder, this is working for everything except for the fade in. So before I run this, like I said, we go down here, we click this button here, and then we go and we click events. This will give us the log of every action that's performing, and it gives us a nice verbose error message if we get something wrong. So let's run this. Get queue target of QID. See, it says it's getting queue target, so I'm not sure why that's not applying. Queue target QID C9. Okay, let's look back at the code one more time. I'm sorry, guys. If this goes on for much longer, I'm going to have to cut again. Oh, no. Here, this was insert queue target. Let me make sure this compiles. Okay. I think I got a little over edity. So before I leave this, in this first block, we do want to set the queue target to the queue. We want to set my queue target to the queue target of the original queue. In the second block, for everything that's not a fade, we want to set it to original queue. And what happened is I deleted it in both instances instead of just deleting it in the once. That was my mistake. So we'll copy all of this. We'll bring it back into QLab. Once again, we will overwrite this script that we've been working with this whole time. And again, this works for fading in videos and audio, or excuse me, fading out videos and audio. We're just having problems with this fade to fade. So let's run this one more time. Control A. There we go. When we get fade out, we don't get that ugly name. We got audio levels at -infinity, and just because I didn't do it yet, let's do Control A. We can fade out a group as well. So there you have it. This one ended up being a little bit longer than I had meant it to be because I did not fully test my stuff as I should have. Let that be a lesson to all of you entrepreneurs at home. Entrepreneurs, I don't know where that came from. Anyways, it's late. We now have a working queue that will fade out just about everything cleanly. As always, the updated versions of the scripts will be up on the GitHub shortly if you need to check them out, as with my template. So take a look at it, see what you can use. I hope you find something that's helpful, and we'll catch you next time.